Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be going over the new upcoming class score and bleached Earth systems that you guys are going to need to know about for the NA server. So, pretty soon here on NA, we will now be getting towards Ordeal Call and its beginning. We've actually already had the prologue, but pretty much here coming up in May, we can kind of expect that they're going to drop a lot of this stuff on us. There's going to be a lot of systems that you guys are maybe not going to be super familiar with. So I just kind of wanted to show you this was the roadmap. You guys can see we are already through early February here with the Valentine's event. We're going to be having Chaldea Boys come up. Then late March here, we're going to be having the collab event for Lilim Harlot. Late April is going to be a lottery event upcoming. And then kind of right in between here for May and June, you guys can probably expect that we will be getting Ordeal Call. It's also possible that somehow they fit it in somehow right here in between, maybe in April instead of May. But either way, I think you guys can expect it to fit into one of those gaps. And I'm going to say a lot of stuff is going to be kind of coming out in the game at that time, and a lot of people are going to have questions. So this is really what this guide is designed to do. It's designed to give you guys an idea about how these systems work. So the first thing I really want to talk about is the fact that when we actually get to Ordeal Call, you guys are going to be getting a sort of new reward system depending on the number of units that you guys have available. So you guys can see we've actually shown you guys a little bit of a rewards overview here. Avalon was kind enough to make the spreadsheet for us. And these are going to be all materials that you guys are going to get given to you depending on the status of your account. And naturally, if you're somebody that's already all the way through part 1 and part 2, at least through the Lost Belt portion of part 2, because Ordeal Call is considered still part 2, but as long as you're through the Lost Belt portion and you're getting to Ordeal Call, you're going to be getting all of these materials. And so you guys can see there's a ton here. There's a ton of mana prisms, up to 1,700 for the maximum, 108 rare prisms you can be given, 63 grail fragments, which again at 7 fragments per is the equivalent at that point of basically 9 grails right there. 9 grails themselves just straight up. And then again, pretty much 500 million in QP, 27 crystallized lores, 480 normal foes. Now, I want to be clear here. That is actual foes. I'm not saying like, hey, this is, things where it's like, oh, hey, maybe it's some sort of like batch or something. No, this is just actually 480. This is going to be enough for a ton of units for you guys. So again, there's a ton of rewards that are going to be given to you guys. 180 gold foes. Now, if you guys remember, you end up using, I think it's, what's the magic number there? Is it 50 gold foes per? Maybe I'm wrong on that. Per unit. So this is enough for at least like 3 more units right here, just off the rip. And 405 faux paw prints. I always make a big deal out of this number because this number, this currently available maximum amount of faux paw prints that you can get from this campaign is so many faux paw prints that it is more than the sum total that can possibly have been collected since the release of faux paw prints in the game. So you're going to be given an amount greater than you could have ever possibly collected up until that point. That's an insane influx of faux paw prints. So you're going to be able to get done again like another 3+ units in this regard. It's definitely going to be a really, really nice thing. And then 36 bond grails as well. I still have not used all of these on my JP account. I'm still swimming in them. So there's just a ton of rewards here for you guys to be able to get. But what's going to be the factor that is going to determine this? Well, it's going to actually be the ascensions of your servants that you have in your account. So to make this clear, we've made a calculation thing here for the rewards, and you guys can see there is a maximum count essentially on the ascension rewards. So if you're looking at this and it's like, oh, okay, I have ascension rewards, how much can I possibly get of this? Well, if And we use the example up here. It's like if you have 5 sabers max ascended, you would enter 20 for that class because there are 4 ascensions for each saber at that point. There's 4 ascensions really for every single class. So at that point, if you had 5 sabers max ascended, you'd enter 20 here, and then that would calculate the amount of the rewards that you guys are going to get. Same thing over here for skill levels. You can see there is a maximum count, but again, this is going to be, hey, like, what's the max that you can have of your skills? Every skill that you have at like rank 10, so you can count up to 10, or again, just the total aggregate amount of your skill levels. If you add all this in, it'll give you the calculations for these rewards. Same thing over here for the servant levels. The more levels that you have, and you guys can see there are a ton potentially here, up to 2,500 being the max for certain classes, and then your extra classes being 1,250 down here. So there's still a lot of rewards you can get out of that. And then bond levels as well here being the final determining factor for things like bond grails. So the more mileage that you've put into your account, the more rewards you're going to receive at that point in time. Now, keep in mind, again, oh, sorry, yeah, level 1 doesn't count, so I guess the maximum for skill levels is level 9. That is my bad on that one. But keep in mind, if you have a newer account or you haven't been developing some of your other units, you're not going to get as many rewards. So this is very much a, how much you put in is how much you get out type of system, and you really want to try and get the most that you can out of it. However, there is no limitation to this. This will continue to go. Just keep in mind that even if you don't have all the rewards now, you can collect them later. However, there is a maximum count for each of these sort of groupings. So there is a point where, like, yeah, if you hit that max amount, then you can't get any more rewards, because as of right now, they still have not like raised the upper limit of this. This is going to be a new milestone type feature coming into the game with the release of Ordeal Call sometime, like I said, around May. Now, on top of that, there's also going to be the class score system. So as we switch back to this, you guys can see on screen now, this is class score. Now, class score works by function of you doing the Bleached Earth quests that will be available. And to make that a little bit more clear, I'm going to go ahead and show that to you now. So we'll come back to this class score screen, but the reason you're going to want to partake in the class score system is going to be because you can buff your individual classes. So here is where your Ordeal Call stuff is going to be handled, both story chapters and Bleached Earth quest. So to give you guys a little bit of a depiction of it, you guys can see we actually have a fully rotatable globe in here. Again, it's definitely an interesting and cool way that they've done this. There are going to be individual nodes, aka free quests, in here that you guys can get done. Now, technically, not every quest that will appear here will be a free quest. There will be some challenge quests as well, but they're sort of one-off fights. So you'll have the opportunity to complete them, and once you complete them, they will go away. But those will give you other rewards, including certain things for class score. Each and every node that you do will give you 10 Stardust on release. JP actually just increased this amount to 20. You're going to want that Stardust. That currency is going to be what you're going to use for, again, purchasing things in class score. However, how you're going to be able to do these nodes is going to be your storm pods. If you're unfamiliar with what storm pods are going to be these little indicators down here. You may have seen them on, again, my stream or other content creators. And what this is a mechanic that they're going to implement for the Bleached Earth nodes. It is for a couple of reasons. The biggest one that they have stated, and they have said this out loud in interviews, is that they wanted to limit our capacity to do the Bleached Earth nodes because, quote unquote, we would just immediately complete and grind out everything if they allowed us to. And I'm not going to say that that's entirely wrong, because there are some people out there that would do that. But the way to understand storm pods is that they are a currency that is given to you each and every day. So each day you are going to get 3 storm pods given to you. There is a maximum you can hold of 9 currently. So after 3 days, you will have hit your cap of 9 out of 9 storm pod nodes. So you don't want to go more than 3 days without using your storm pods. If you do, then you will end up wasting your storm pods, and you really don't want to waste them. Why? Because they are an extremely lucrative commodity. You see, the reason that they cap these nodes predominantly, not just because it affects your ability to do class score, but it's because some of these nodes are actually the best possible node that you can farm for their individual materials. And in fact, you can see the way JP has been running them of late is that during events, they actually give you a 50% AP down cost. So these nodes normally cost 40 AP and 1 storm pod to do. This is a really good thing because it basically allows you to sit there and say, okay, I need to do my 3 runs a day in order to get my daily tickets and mana prisms. So I'm going to use the 3 storm pods that I get to be my 3 runs, and then maybe make blue apples with the rest, or go and spend your AP elsewhere in other free quests or events or things like that. When this system first comes out, they will not have the 50% AP down probably during events. That is going to be a little bit spicy, as you're going to have to really balance how you handle storm pods with event demands. You can still do both and, again, not waste anything. I do have a little bit of a trick in that regard, and that's because as you go to do your storm pods, remember you can only store up to 9 of them. So usually what you want to do is you want to start out an event having none of them. That is to say, you've used them all. So you go into the event having none, you complete the event the first day, and you keep kind of going as normal. And then what you want to do is each day when you receive the storm pods, keep doing them. Make sure you do your 3 runs every single day for your storm pods until you get to the last 3 days of the event. With the last 3 days of the event, what you want to do is you want to stop doing your storm pods and let them accumulate up to 9 out of 9. Then as the event ends, you will be able to complete it at maximum efficiency. So if you're worried about not having enough AP maybe to complete the event, you should be fine. And this can be a little bit of a way to stretch. However, you may still find that you're somehow short. If you didn't roll, you may need to pop an apple, but this is a trick that I've found works for me quite frequently. So then the event will end, and what you need to do is you need to spend at least 3 storm pods before you get given storm pods the next day at the next server reset. So if you can manage to do that, you'll be fine. You won't waste any of your storm pods. So again, it's just a little bit of min-maxing trick that I used to do back in the day before they gave us these 50% AP downs during events. Interestingly enough, JP has also now allowed, with a new quality of life, the ability to spend storm pods on any node out there in the world and still receive Stardust from it. That is a nice change. It does free things up a little bit. It means you don't have to do the Bleached Earth nodes. However, in general, even if NA doesn't get that quality of life early, which I assume that it won't, you still kind of want to do the Bleached Earth quests with your storm pods if possible. There is a little bit of a conundrum, as JP has increased the amount of rewards in the events in their shop. So there is a little bit of an AP demand at this point. I have to kind of run that myself to see what goes on. But long story short, at first, you're just going to want to make sure that you're always spending your AP on the Bleached Earth nodes as long as you have the storm pods available. So again, each node, it's going to cost 1 storm pod, it's going to give you some Stardust, and it's going to give you other things. So each of these nodes does have pretty lucrative rewards, except for a couple of them that seemingly are kind of bad. So yes, you could use this node to farm, again, some of these blue gems, but I'm going to say most people, by the time they get to Ordeal Call, will have probably been through a lotto or two and will not need these in the slightest. But don't think that all these nodes are that bad. In fact, for instance, if we click on this one right here, the Hawaii nodes, there are some pretty nice things, including shells. This, from the very first batch of Bleached Earth nodes, is going to be one of the nodes that you'll see a lot of people focus on. You do have a shell lotto coming up at the end of NA this year, But in the time being, people are going to need shells basically for JP, or sorry, for summer coming up. And so you're going to see a ton of people farm this node. Interestingly enough, you also have another node over here in basically Las Vegas, and this node actually is a very lucrative QP node. So in a weird way, you guys can still use these nodes to get more rewards than you would otherwise if you just ran a normal node that were to give you these things. The Bleached Earth nodes are very, very rewarding, and they give you quite nice master experience, mystic code experience, and bond amounts. So it's really a good idea. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure that you don't miss out on your storm pods. Don't waste them. Always do your Bleached Earth nodes. At first, the selection of quests that are available to you is not going to be that great, but you can see over the years, we have now gotten quite a few of these nodes. So I think you guys can expect this will continue to expand at least until Ordeal Call wraps up. We'll see what the devs do with this system from there. So this is the Bleached Earth free quest. This is going to be how you guys are going to get your storm pods spent, at least until JP, until that quality of life that JP got comes over to NA. And so from there, you're going to get obviously the rewards from doing the nodes, including the Stardust. Well, where are you going to go spend the Stardust? That's going to be over here in this new class score system. So again, as we come back to class score, each one of these represents a class with 2 extra groups. Now, those are a little bit more confusing, so we'll get into them a little bit later, but I'll just go ahead and go with a very simple one right here, like the Lancer one. Now, one of my waifus is a Lancer, so I kind of ran out and went ahead and did and invested in the class score system. You guys can kind of see I've managed to purchase this. Up here at the top of the screen, you guys can see my actual currency here. This is the Stardust. And here we have the various unlockers, and the way they're going to work is they're going to act as an unlock feature for some of the gates that this system has. So with the class score system, and it may be better to show it to you from one that I maybe haven't started. So let's go over here to like Archer that I haven't touched yet. Archer, and all of them kind of are similar. They have very similar layouts and how they work. So you're going to start always right here in the middle, and then you're going to kind of come down. It's going to be a little bit like a class tree. Or if you guys have ever played something like PoE with their talent trees, or maybe even like old school, like Final Fantasy X there with its sphere grid. It's a very similar type of system. It's not very complex. It's very dumbed down and simple. But the way it's going to work is you have choices for how you can kind of proceed and where you can kind of go with each thing. It does not matter which side you start on. You can always go different directions with this. And what this is going to do as you purchase these nodes is you're going to be able to get, again, certain buffs. So as you guys can see, this is going to be Arts Crit Up. It's going to enhance all of that crit damage that your arts cards do. And this is class-wide in terms of benefits. So the way this is going to work is as I do this, all archers that I have, if I were to purchase that Arts Crit Up, would have and gain that benefit. So there's a lot to be said here about strategizing and how you want to proceed. I think most people actually chose to look at the class score and they said, the best bang for their bucks existed kind of right here with Berserkers, because a lot of people like to farm with Berserkers and like to get a lot of mileage out of that. And a lot of people looked towards the extra classes because they have multiple units in them. So to show you an example right here, here is the extra 2, and this includes 4 different classes in it. So this is Alter Ego, Pretender, Beast, and Foreigner. And that's basically how that one's going to work. And as you guys look over to extra 1 ends up having Shielder, Ruler, Moon Cancer, and Avenger over here. So we don't have all of these unlocked. They are going to unlock over time as you complete the story. And to give you guys an idea, here's basically the unlock requirements for the ones that we have. We have 4 of the extra classes available. We do not have all 8 of them available yet. It stands to reason that we will probably get the ruler one from Ordeal Call 4, and from there it gets a little bit more up in the air. Maybe we get some of the others from some of the unique fights that we've gotten, as we have at least gotten one that way in the past. But there's no guarantee at this current point in time for when or where we will get maybe the other 3. So those ones are still up in the air, but you can kind of see how it's proceeded. Really, you're going to unlock these from doing the Ordeal Call chapters, and as the story comes out, you will be able to get more of these extra classes. However, the base classes are always unlocked and available for you. So to that degree, this is why a lot of people chose to start with Berserker, just for its general applicability. Now, the thing to keep in mind about this is there's a lot of benefits within each of these class scores. The buffs that they actually can provide are not strictly just carding buffs. There is quite a bit of benefit. And so to detail that, I kind of wanted to show you within this spreadsheet that we've made, we have a summation of everything that can kind of occur. Now, each of the class score individual classes has the exact same buff structure. So it's pretty much a carbon copy of every other class. So if you were to purchase everything for a given class score, this is what you would get. You would get 20% for each of the card type ups. You would get 50% extra attack effectiveness. This includes not just extra attack damage, but also star gen and NP gen. You would get 50% extra star gen. You would get 10% extra NP damage for that class. And then you would get 60% extra quick crit damage, 40% extra arts crit damage, and 20% extra buster crit damage, as well as 10% extra crit damage to all card types. From there, there is also a command code buff. This one works a little bit weird because it's only if you use, sorry, not a command code, command seal. It only works if you use a command seal on an individual unit. And then from there, if you used it of a unit of that class. So let's say, again, you had the Berserker class score unlocked and you went and unlocked the command seal buff for it, then if you used an individual command seal on a Berserker, it will grant them 50% attack and defense. So it does not mean that it's necessarily going to apply to the entire party. It's only going to apply specifically to the unit that you did it for, but only if it's a class that you have unlocked this for within the class score. So there is a little bit of stuff there. We did include some notes as well. That is to say, the 3 times color buffs only increase damage. They do not apparently increase, the bonus effects for a card type. So you're not going to get extra NP gen or extra critical star generation. That is the unfortunate nature of those. However, the extra attack effectiveness up, as we already mentioned, does boost every aspect of the extra attack. And again, it's only for one ally and one turn on the command seal attack and defense buff. But this is everything that you can get for any given class score. So if you start thinking about this, you can start to apply this to some of your favorite classes. My advice to you guys is to probably go into the class scores for units that you feel like you already use dominantly in your account. If you have a lot of grailed units, you really like, like a 120 Space Ishtar, going into something like the extra 1 with the Avenger tree could be really useful to you. Or again, if you have a really powerful like Musashi Berserker or something like that, going into the Berserker tree makes a lot of sense. So it really doesn't matter who you have, it's just about trying to enhance some of your favorite units. Now, the thing to understand about this, though, is that the rate at which you get Stardust for class score is going to take a long time. So don't expect to be completing these very quickly. In fact, we are hard gated, and probably not in the way that you would think, because we're hard gated by this. the unlockers. You only get the unlockers when the devs give you a fight or a campaign that allows you to get them. They have been very stingy with these so far, so you can only unlock up to a certain amount at this point in time, particularly with the max rank unlockers, which you need in order to be able to get to the NP damage buffs. They have locked some of the best things behind that, just to kind of show you here. Again, here is like your first unlocker right here. This is going to be your red one, as you can see, and we actually have the most of those given out. Then your yellow one right here is sort of the medium tier one. It is going to be a very common one, but still not like the most common. And then the blue one right here, which actually restricts access to both the all crit damage and NP damage up, is going to be your third tier one here, and it is exceedingly rare. We do not get a lot of these, so I highly recommend strategizing which classes you wish to apply them to and try to make the most for your money. But keep in mind that a lot of what is kind of locked into the class score is card performance, not necessarily. While the best rewards are kind of right here, you get a lot of stuff along the way as you're moving towards it. So a lot of the benefits that you guys are going to receive is going to be card type up and crit damage and all those other various things that can kind of help out that card performance. So it's going to be really nice for you in that regard, and something that I think you should consider, that maybe one of the factors for choosing a class score can be units that you find that you use more in a carding environment, whether that be story fights, challenge fights, or again, just fun soloing units that you really like to take into nodes. That's where I think you're going to get a lot of mileage out of the class score system. And you can see I do have quite a bit of Stardust saved up at the moment, but that's actually because, if you noticed, some of the other restrictions for unlocking things within the class score is that not only is it going to take the Stardust, but it's also going to take QP and Ascension materials. And in some other cases, it may even take, and let me see if I can find one here, it may even take, yeah, there you go, your statues and monuments. So these can be really nasty for some of you that are kind of still eking by and don't really have a lot of these to spare. This is why I've told you guys with the upcoming class score system to keep an eye on some of these event shops. Whenever you roll in an event and you have a lot of craft essences and therefore you're maybe more efficient in the event than you otherwise would be, that's a good sign to try and clear the shop and get as many of the statues and monuments out of it as you can, since you're going to be more efficient in that event because you rolled. So that's usually how I try to do it. But again, some of you guys, maybe you're a little bit more free to play. You don't roll very often, so it's not going to be to your benefit to do that all the time. So you're going to have to pick and choose your battles wisely. But the time to start working on this is now. Again, if you guys knew about this system already, you could have already started. But you really want to try to get enough of these statues and monuments so that you don't end up getting kind of hard stuck and being unable to proceed. Realistically, it's going to be those Ascension materials. It's going to be those statues and stuff that are going to be the real things that hold you back. And to detail that, again, this spreadsheet that we have made has the sum total that you will need for every single class. So this is a good way to kind of aggregate all of this and figure out what it is you need. We have it currently broken down by class, and you guys can see, while this is kind of in all detail, what this means is that every single class score to complete it to full will require each of these. This is not the sum total that you will ever need for everything. This is the sum total that you will need for one class score. So it's going to take you almost 7,000 Stardust for one class score, and 4 of each of the lower unlockers and 2 of the major unlockers to unlock everything, as well as 315 million QP there, plus whatever other statues and Ascension materials it requires on top of that. Now, you may be wondering, okay, but what's the total amount I need for everything? And we have that right here. If you want to unlock every single possible class score, every single node, you are going to need 60,000 Stardust. 36 of the red unlockers, 36 of the yellow unlockers, 18 of the sort of like gilded ones here, the tier 3 ones, and then 2.8 billion QP, as well as 175 of each silver piece, with right now, due to the fact that some of them kind of get doubled up on due to the extra classes, you're going to need 200 of the berserkers, and then 625 of each of the gold pieces, and 750 of the berserkers. Then your bronze mat requirements, thankfully, are not too terrible, but for some of you guys, this may be a little bit more than you would like to spare. Otherwise, keep in mind, class score is a system that you guys will complete over time. You will be hard gated by the devs, so you don't have to have all of this right away, right now, but this does do a pretty good job of showing you this is what's going to be required to actually finish this system. Again, I think the real like major stumbling blocks are probably going to be right here in these two, because this one is dev restrictive, and this one, depending on the age of your account, you may just not have a lot of. So I think that's what's really going to hold a lot of people back. But this class score system is, again, very, very good. It's really nice for enhancing the firepower of your units. You don't have to partake in it. The devs themselves cannot balance the game around it because it is your choice as to where to go. And that's kind of what they've echoed in the sentiments that they've said as well, where they have talked about it and they've said, look, it's not a requirement, but naturally fights are going to be harder if you don't have it. So if you have it, it's going to make your time in the game easier. Again, it's up to you to choose how you want to embark upon this and whether or not you want to do it. But I do think this can be a good idea to really start to invest in and prepare for, as it's just going to make your account stronger. And this is in all scenarios. It's not just Ordeal Call. So as you go into like lotto nodes and stuff, having 10% extra NP damage on your berserkers or your sabers or your lancers, or again, your avengers, anything, can be a really, really nice thing to have. It can be an absolute game changer for some of you if you feel like you were right on the cusp for certain units being able to kind of push beyond. This can be that extra firepower that they need to really pop off. One more thing here before we wrap the video up. I did want to point out my man on Twitter here, Nico Nikon. He does a lot of these infographics, and you can see right here, this was one of his early denotations for basically these are all the Bleached Earth quests with their rewards. It's a little bit potato quality right here. So just to kind of get it a little bit bigger, you guys can see the breakdown. This is a very, very nice and amazing infographic that he has. I'm also going to take I'll put the link to this, and I'll put the link to the spreadsheet in the video description. But again, I hope this all helps you. You guys can see everything that you guys can get here. So I hope this helps you guys with the class score system upcoming. Let me know if you guys have any questions. It's actually a pretty straightforward and easy system, though it does take a little bit of understanding at first because all of it is brand new. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this entrant to the Explain series, and I will see you guys for the next one. Have a good one. Hey, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, right?